Sri Ashutosh Marji once asked a question that if there was a temple where there was a murti, a statue of Hanuman, and there's another temple where Hanuman sat himself, which one do you think more people would go to? So one temple has a statue of Hanuman, another temple has Hanuman himself. Which one would most people go to?
Hanuman himself.
The temple with the statue was his answer. Think about when you were in school and instead of your teacher you got a supply teacher. How did that make you feel? Happy, right? No homework to hand in. Your teacher is not going to ask you, what have you completed? What have you not completed? It is the same situation on the path of spirituality too. People will go to the temple with the statue because they have no one to answer to. No one to ask them what they've completed, what they've done, what they've fulfilled. We face situations like this all the time. And about a little over 300 years ago, on the 13th of April, the disciples of Sri Guru Gobind Singh were in a similar situation. There was a Satsang gathering where hundreds and hundreds of people were gathered. But this Satsang was a little different. This time Guru Gobind Singh came and asked his disciples that today I need someone to sacrifice their head. As soon as he said this, the murmur in the crowd started. Did we hear correctly that he is asking for us to sacrifice our head? And the crowd was confused. But one person stood up and said, I am willing to sacrifice my head. Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji takes him to the back of the satsang hall and returns with blood on his sword and asks for another person to sacrifice their head. Now the murmur in the crowd has gotten crazy. As they see blood on his sword, they say, Guru is supposed to give lives, not take lives. Some people started to just sink a little deeper in their seats. Usually, when a teacher asks a question in classroom and you kind of sink low that she doesn't see you and she doesn't ask you to give the answer. Same situation. Some people snuck out and started to leave the satsang. And this happened many times. But he stopped at 5 people. Out of the hundreds of people that were there were 5 people that stood up and said, we are willing to sacrifice our head. These 5 people were blessed with Brahmgyan out of those hundreds of people. And Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji gave them the title of Khalsa, meaning pure. What was it that these disciples had that without a second doubt they were willing to sacrifice themselves? What was it that they possessed that was different from the rest of the people who were there, that they were willing to give up their life on one command of their Guru? Often the answer we come up with is faith. And when we think of faith, we often think of having faith in a higher power, or having faith in your guru. But the word has a lot of depth to it. Because I'm sure all the people who were there believed in Guru Gobind Singh Ji. But when that question of sacrificing something came up, they couldn't stand the course. And we're like that too. As long as everything's smooth, as long as everything's going our way, we're not asked to go out of our way to do anything. We're okay. But the minute a challenge comes up, the minute a situation comes up, then we question. Then we think, well, I don't know if I want to do this. The doubt starts to sprout in our mind. But whenever those masters came, they came to instill faith in ourselves. Whenever gurus came on earth, they encouraged mankind. They encouraged their disciples to have faith in themselves. Think of if you were going to run a race and say everybody knew. Everybody said, no, you're going to do this. You're going to win this race. But you didn't feel it. You're not going to win because you don't have faith in yourself. And on the opposite, say everybody says, hey, you're not going to make it this time. There's some really fast runners this time. But you have, without a doubt, you know you're going to win this race. You have faith in yourself. You will win it. Your odds of winning that race are much, much, much higher. What gurus come to do is not to tell you, believe in me, worship me. But what they come to instill you with is having faith in yourself. At the time of Lord Jesus Christ, there was a group of disciples sitting in a boat. And they watched Lord Jesus Christ walk on water. And they're shocked. First they think to themselves that this is not real. This seems like this is a ghost. But when Lord Jesus calls out to them, they realize that this is their guru. This is their master. So Peter says that if you are my master, call me to walk on water too. And Jesus did just that. He says, Peter, get up and walk. For Peter, he was trying to convince himself that this person walking on water is his guru. But what Jesus Christ was trying to help Peter understand was that you can do whatever you put your mind to. You have to have faith in yourself. And it is that faith that enabled Peter to walk on water. Shortly after, he started getting worried about the wind that was coming. And he started to sink into the water. As we go through life, as we go through our journey, in some situations we think with our heart. We're too close to the situation, we're tied to it, we think with our heart. And there's some people who always do that. We say that they wear their heart on their sleeve. And then on the other hand, there are some people who are very logical. Everything is analytical. They analyze the situation. And throughout our journey of life, we bounce from this. Sometimes we think from the mind, sometimes we think from the heart. But what gurus come to help us do is help the mind and the heart be in sync. For them both to come together. Quran explains the definition of faith. They say faith is having knowledge in the heart, is an inclination of the tongue, and is an action of the limbs. So faith is knowing, is speaking, and is acting. Is knowing something, affirming what you know, and then acting upon it. That is what faith is. Not just you believing in this higher power, but you understanding what you are doing, what you are committing yourself to. Faith in yourself happens when your mind and your heart come into sync. They're saying the exact same thing. As long as there is this tug of war happening, we're always going to jump in believing in something and not believing in something. The little seedlings of doubt are always going to continuously come up in our mind. But why Guru has given us this technique of Brahmgyan is because through its practice, the mind and the heart will start to be in sync. There will be no battle inside anymore. There will be no tug of war anymore. There will be just that one decision. And in order to get us there, Guru puts many situations in front of us. There was a time where Guru and disciple were traveling. And they end up at a rich person's house. And they ask for shelter. They ask to some space to spend the night. And this man was arrogant, was rude, and was upset that, now these people have come and asked him for shelter. So he puts them down in the dark, a cold cellar. He puts them in that room. Barely gives them anything to eat. The Guru and the disciples spend the night there. And they see this crack on the wall. And instead of resting the whole night, they start to patch up that crack on the wall. They work through the night to patch up that crack. As soon as morning comes, they take their leave and they go on their way. They travel through to the next town and they come upon this house of a very poor family. And again they knock on their door and they ask to spend the night. The people were ecstatic. They were so happy, so pleased to have a Guru in their house today. They didn't have much, but whatever they had, they offered it to their Guru and the disciple. They gave up their beds, they gave up their room and said, please rest here, and ensured they had everything they needed in order for them to be comfortable. When morning comes, they find that their cow has passed away. The only cow they had. Guru and the disciple offer them some comfort and go on their path. Throughout this, the disciple is so confused. He doesn't understand why his Guru is doing what he is doing. Guru knows what's going on in the mind of this disciple. So he says, just ask, what is it? What's bothering you? He says, we went to that man's house and he was so rude to us. He didn't take care of us. But we spent the entire night patching up their wall. But this family was so kind to us. And Guru, I know you have the power to do anything. But you let their cow die. Why would you do that? I don't understand. These people treated us so well and you could have done something for them, but you didn't. So his Guru explains. He says, behind that cracked wall that we fixed, there was a whole new treasure. There was so much wealth hidden behind that wall that king was not aware of. But we patched it up because if he found it, he would become even more arrogant. He would do more atrocities on the people of his kingdom. That's why I patched it up. And he said this family was about to lose their father, the head of the family, who works and tries to make a living for them. But when that god of death came, instead of taking the man, I asked him to take the cow. So that at least they still had their father and they could find some way, some means to continue to live. Guru comes and acts in so many different ways in our life. And while we're in the situation, we don't understand. And we question. But he has some way of working something out. Always for our own good. Always looking out for the best of us. When we were going to university or going to go to university, you looked at every school. You made sure that you're getting into the best program. You made sure that university has a good reputation. We always make sure we're getting the best deal. Whether we're buying a TV, whether we're picking out a university, whether we're looking for the next promotion at work, we're making sure that this is the right move, that we're getting the greatest benefit out of this. But Guru is the one person who doesn't do any of that. He doesn't sit and look that, you know what, if I give this person Brahmgyan, are they going to make the most of it? He doesn't look at our strengths and our weaknesses and think of how we're going to be a benefit to him. He is the only person that does not think about benefit. The only individual. He gives us that gift of Brahmgyan without even thinking twice. Without even questioning. We asked for it and we received it. There was no struggle. There was no fight to get it. Because he is always looking out for our best. That at some moment, at some point, we would come to the realization of what this technique of Brahmgyan can do for us. We go through our daily lives. We go into a temple or a holy place. For a few moments, we enjoy the music, we enjoy the company, and then we go back into our daily life. But that technique of Brahmgyan he has given us is for us to carry into our daily lives. Not just for the time we're here, we're gathered, we're meditating together. Not just for this time. But to take his ideals into practice, into our daily lives. Wherever we go, whatever we do, we live his values. That is a true disciple. Someone who lives the ideals in their daily life. And that will become a natural process for us. When our mind and our heart become in sync. Often when we think of old disciples, of how much they gave for their gurus, how they were in a moment, they surrendered themselves completely. And we think of them that maybe they were crazy. Or maybe they were just so madly in love. But they were neither crazy. They were people who maybe not so educated in terms of society, but people who held high statuses. Mira was a queen. But what she had was, through that experience of Brahmgyan, her logical mind and her overly emotional heart had become one. She was coming from a place of oneness, a place of unity. Today, when we think of unity, we think of all of us gathering, sitting together. But unity starts with us, starts within us. When we are united inside, then we can start working on uniting with the people around us. And what gurus come to do is to help us unite within. They don't come to tell us to have faith in me. They come to inspire us to have faith in ourselves. We're made in the image of God. Gurus have come to remove us from the notion of always believing that there is this higher power sitting up there that we have to believe in. But they come to turn that direction inside to help us connect with that higher power within us and have faith in ourselves. Faith is knowing that truth within you. Is speaking about that truth, affirming that truth, and then acting upon it. That is what faith is. We all sitting here today are disciples of Sri Ashutosh Maharji, who's given us this greatest gift of Brahmgyan. But how much of it are we putting into practice? If we were asked to give up our heads, to sacrifice our heads, and for those who do not know, he didn't cut their heads off, but he blessed. They were the chosen 5 who received the gift of Brahmgyan. In those times, there were a lot of tests before they received Gyan. But they were his 5 disciples that were an example for everyone in society. And the sacrifice of the head is the sacrifice of our ego. As long as that ego is alive within us, our mind and our heart will never be in harmony. They will never come together. Albert Einstein was asked once that what if there is a situation where this big mountain is going to fall and you are asked to find a solution? What would you do? You only have 1 hour to find a solution. What would you do? He said, I would spend 55 minutes of that 1 hour trying to figure out how the situation occurred in the first place. That what is causing this mountain to fall, and to what extent would that damage go? I would spend 55 minutes of that 1 hour trying to figure out to assess the situation. And I would spend 5 minutes working on the solution. We, on the other hand, wouldn't even waste a minute trying to think about how the situation occurred. We would run, pick up and run. Because we are reactive people. In every moment we are reactive. But the technique of Brahmgyan is given to us to stop in every situation, connect within, and then talk, then react. Come from a place of oneness. Come from a place of realization. Not just react to everything that's happening and we just go from one reaction to the next and the whole day is over. But to be in charge of our day. Know what you're spending your energy on. Know what you're wasting your energy on. Let it be a conscious decision. Through the practice of Brahmgyan, not just the 20 minutes we sit and practice every day, but take that and apply it in your daily lives. I know Sister Sadhvi and me were having a conversation yesterday of how the nectar technique has avoided a whole argument at her work. She put it into practice in her life. She knew when to bring it into practice. The technique of Brahmgyan is not just for those few moments that we sit, we meditate, we connect with God and we go on our way. But it is to be applied in our daily lives. When you're in a difficult situation, stop for a few moments, connect within, find your cool, find your peace, and then tackle that situation. When you're stuck in a situation where your mind is saying one thing and your heart is saying one thing, never make a decision in that situation. Stop, let that heart and let that mind connect, become one, and then make your decision. So next time someone asks you if you have faith in God, until you have faith in yourself in that situation, your answer should not be yes. Because we have the power, we have the potential, we have the capacity to do whatever we want and also determine the outcome of what it is that we want. We have that much power, that much potential. You can fulfill anything you put your mind to. But if you believe it, if you know you can do it, then it will be possible. There is no test, there is no race, there is no game that you cannot be good at. You can be successful in every aspect of your life. Often I hear parents say, you know what, I just want them to focus on one thing and be good at it. No. They can be good at everything they try. Everything they try. You can be good at everything you try. But you have to have faith in yourself.